New Haven, Connecticut. Here, behind walls of translucent marble that filter daylight into a soft glow, shielding the contents from the ravages of ultraviolet rays, stands the Voynich Rare Book and Manuscript Library of Yale University. It is a cathedral of knowledge. At its heart, a glass tower rises through the central hall, a climate-controlled sanctum where temperature, humidity, and the very composition of the air are managed by unseen electronics. This is the perfect environment for preserving paper and parchment. Within this spire rest Gutenberg Bibles, maps drawn by the first explorers, the working drafts of great poets. But the most valuable, and perhaps the most dangerous exhibit, is kept apart. It lies in an armored safe under the designation MS-408. The library staff call it the Sphinx. The world knows it as the Voynich Manuscript. A small volume measuring just 23 by 16 centimeters. 240 pages of fine calfskin parchment, the color of aged ivory. Its cover is plain, unadorned, bearing no title or inscription, but to open it is to fall into a rabbit hole with no bottom. For 6 centuries, this book has taunted humanity. It has outlasted emperors, survived wars, revolutions, and the birth of the internet. It has shattered the careers of dozens of brilliant linguists, the finest cryptographers from the National Security Agency and the Central Intelligence Agency, the very minds who broke Soviet ciphers and the codes of the Nazi enigma have surrendered before its elegant, flowing script. It is written in a language that does not exist. It is illustrated with plants that do not grow on Earth. It is filled with diagrams whose meaning slips away the very moment you believe you have grasped it. This is not merely a book. It is an intellectual labyrinth, crafted by a genius or a madman. And now, in the 21st century, a weapon of the new millennium has been turned against this medieval enigma: artificial intelligence. Neural networks, capable of learning from data sets that exceed the volume of all the libraries in the world. We believed the machine would crack this code with ease. We awaited a translation. We hoped for recipes, historical chronicles, or secret knowledge. But what the machine produced caused scientists not to rejoice, but to freeze in a state of profound unease. The artificial mind gazed into the abyss of the text, and it reported that the structure of this supposed gibberish was more perfect, more logically consistent than the structure of many living languages. We were not faced with chaos. We were faced with an order whose logic is utterly alien to us. This is the story of how the technology of the future is attempting to unlock a time capsule from the past. But to understand the problem, one must trace the strange and maddening trail the book has left through history. The manuscript possesses a peculiar quality. It seems to drive its owners to obsession. It compels them to spend fortunes, to sacrifice their reputations, and, in time, their sanity, all in an attempt to read a single page. The first confirmed trace leads us to Prague at the dawn of the 17th century, the golden city of alchemists, mystics, and charlatans. In the heart of the Holy Roman Empire, at the court of the second Habsburg Emperor Rudolf, reality itself seemed to bend. Rudolf was Europe's most eccentric monarch, his Prague castle a world unto itself. He amassed a legendary Kunstkammer, a cabinet of wonders, where science and superstition bled into one another. Within its walls, the great astronomers Tycho Brahe and Johannes Kepler charted the heavens. But haunting the same halls were dozens of charlatans, whispering promises of turning lead into gold. It was into this fever dream of a court that the manuscript arrived. And it was Rudolf who bought it. The price remains shocking to this day, 600 gold ducats. To comprehend the scale of this sum, one must understand that for such a price, a man could purchase a small estate, complete with a fortress, lands, and the serfs who worked them. One could hire an entire army of mercenaries for a month. The emperor had traded a fortune for a single small book. The question was, and remains, why? Because the seller, whose name is lost to the shadows, though suspicion falls upon the English mystic John Dee or his medium Edward Kelly, had convinced the emperor of its author. He claimed it was the work of Roger Bacon, the great 13th century Franciscan friar known as Doctor Mirabilis, the wonderful doctor. Bacon was a mind out of time, a scholar who predicted the invention of microscopes, telescopes, automobiles, and flying machines. He was whispered to be a magician, one who held the secret of the philosopher's stone and the elixir of life. Rudolf was convinced this book held the cipher to immortality itself. He pored over its pages for hours, neglecting the affairs of state. An empire was crumbling, while its emperor tried to read an herbal. In the end, he would lose his throne, descend into madness, and die in solitude. The book offered no salvation. Did to hand. To Jacobus de Tepanek, the emperor's personal physician and pharmacist, his signature, a ghost on the first page, was revealed only in the 20th century by the cold, invisible light of ultraviolet. It fell to the alchemist Georg Baresch, who in his desperation wrote letters to the great Athanasius Kircher, the most renowned decipherer of the age, begging for his help. Kircher, a man who deciphered Egyptian hieroglyphs with great confidence and complete inaccuracy, could make nothing of the text. The book vanished into the Jesuit catacombs, where it would sleep for 300 years. Then, in the year 1912, at the Villa Mondragone near Rome, it reawakened. Its discoverer was Wilfrid Voynich, a legendary figure in his own right, a Polish revolutionary who had escaped the frozen hell of a Siberian gulag to reinvent himself as a London antiquarian. The Jesuits were selling off their library to fund repairs on the villa. Voynich sifted through dusty chests filled with prayer books and tedious treatises, and he found it. He knew instantly that he had found the jackpot. He purchased the book and dedicated the rest of his life to breaking its code. He sent photostatic copies to everyone, from Oxford professors to military cryptographers. He died, convinced it was Bacon's cipher. But he had not advanced a single step. The manuscript had outlived him too, remaining as mute as it had been 500 years before. Before unleashing neural networks and artificial intelligence, modern science had to ask a fundamental question. Could it all be an elaborate fake? Perhaps Voynich himself had crafted it, a master forger seeking eternal fame. In the year 2009, the manuscript was subjected to a total physical autopsy. The first step, radiocarbon analysis. The book endures, a silent testament not to a forgotten language, but perhaps to the eternal, maddening human quest for meaning in a universe that offers none. It is a lock for which there may be no key, and its greatest secret may be that it has no secret at all. In the sterile quiet of a laboratory, a scientist from the University of Arizona makes a series of precise incisions. Microscopic slivers of parchment are carefully excised from 4 different pages, from the manuscript's beginning, its middle, and its end. These fragments, whispers of history, are fed into the violent heart of an accelerator mass spectrometer. They are vaporized, their atoms counted, their isotopic signatures read. The result is a death blow to a century of speculation. The Voynich Manuscript is no modern forgery. The parchment itself was crafted between the years 1404 and 1438. This is the dawn of the 15th century, the early Renaissance, an age of profound transformation when the old world was beginning to dream of the new. The Americas are still nearly 100 years from European discovery. Gutenberg's printing press, the machine that will forever change the spread of knowledge, has not yet been conceived. The book is a ghost from a forgotten age. A second analysis probes deeper into its very biology. What is this manuscript made of? The answer is vellum, a high-quality parchment derived from the skin of calves. Not just any calves, but the youngest, milk-fed, or perhaps even unborn. The preparation is immaculate, the surface almost entirely free of defects. But a simple calculation reveals a staggering truth. To produce this many pages of such pristine quality, many of which are large, complex, fold-out charts, would have required the slaughter of an entire herd. A minimum of 14 or 15 animals. More likely, if only the finest skins were selected, over 100 calves gave their lives for this book. In the 15th century, this represented an immense fortune. This was no mad hermit's diary scribbled on scraps in a fit of inspiration. This was a lavishly funded, meticulously planned project, backed by a patron of extraordinary wealth. The third stage of the investigation turns to the chemistry of the page itself. Spectral analysis decodes the pigments, the very language of its color. The ink is a standard iron gall, brewed from oak galls, iron sulfate, and gum arabic, the workhorse of medieval scribes. The paints are simple, inexpensive minerals: ground malachite for green, azurite for blue, cinnabar for red, and common ochre. Yet here lies a subtle clue. The analysis reveals that the cryptic text and the outlines of the bizarre illustrations were drawn first, when the vellum was fresh. The ink soaked deep into the fibers. The colors, however, were applied later, and with a surprise spill over the lines. This suggests a division of labor. One master, or a team of masters, who inscribed the text and drew the initial sketches, and then apprentices who filled in the colors. This was the work of a scriptorium, a professional workshop. For decades, skeptics have dismissed the manuscript as an elaborate hoax. Gibberish, a cascade of random symbols, a form of glossolalia designed to fool the credulous. To test this theory, the ancient enigma was handed to a modern oracle: artificial intelligence. Computers were tasked to scan the text for the hidden laws of language. The primary test was for a universal principle known as Zipf's law. The law states that in any natural human language, from English to Mandarin, the most frequently used word appears twice as often as the second most frequent, 3 times as often as the third, and so on. It is the universal mathematical signature of intelligent communication. Strike a keyboard at random and you will violate this law. Invent a simple cipher from the top of your head and you will almost certainly violate it too. The human mind is incapable of generating true randomness, or conversely, the perfect, subtle structure of language. The AI scanned all 35,000 words of the manuscript. It plotted the frequencies, charted the distributions. The machine's verdict was categorical. The Voynich Manuscript perfectly adheres to Zipf's law. It is not random noise. It is not a simple fraud. It bears the unmistakable fingerprint of a genuine, structured language. We stand before a work of immense cost and coordinated effort, built with the architecture of meaning, yet its message is utterly lost to us. It is a voice from the past, speaking with perfect clarity in a tongue we can no longer comprehend. It adheres to a fundamental law of language, a statistical pattern known as Zipf's law. In fact, its adherence is more perfect than that of many living languages. This is not gibberish, it is a language. It possesses structure, it has syntax, it has morphology. Analysis has even isolated what appear to be prefixes, roots, and suffixes. There are words that appear only in the botanical section. Others are unique to the astronomical charts. This is logical. In a chapter on the stars, one expects to find words for star, sky, orbit. The statistics confirm it. The thematic vocabulary shifts, precisely as it should, from one section to the next. The text's entropy, a measure of its information density, matches that of Latin and English. This means it carries information. It is not a decorative flourish. Something is written there. But what? The manuscript's alphabet, the so-called European Voynich alphabet, is composed of between 20 and 30 primary glyphs. They resemble neither Cyrillic nor Latin nor Arabic script. Sallows and benches. Analysis of the penmanship reveals at least two distinct hands, dubbed Courier A and Courier B, both writing with a fluid, confident stroke. There are no corrections, no smudges, no pauses for thought. The author wrote in this language as freely as we write in our own native tongue. They were not encrypting, cross-referencing a cipher key. They were thinking in this language. And so the investigation turns to the images. The first and largest section is Botanical. On every page, a detailed drawing of a plant, with text plant, find its medieval name, and the letters would yield their secrets. Botanists and neural networks have analyzed 113 of these drawings. The result? A total failure. Most of the plants do not exist. They are chimeras, botanical monsters. One has the roots of a carrot, the stem of a thistle, and the leaves of a fern. Another bears a flower resembling a sunflower, a New World plant, yet the manuscript predates Columbus, and its roots are those of a mandrake. There are tantalizing overlaps, parts of plants that match real-world species, a pansy, a fern, a lily, the castor bean. But they are assembled incorrectly. Why? The most plausible hypothesis suggests this is not a record of plants as they are, but an instruction for what could be. The drawing is not a specimen. It is an infographic, a recipe. Take the root from this plant. The illustration shows only the root. The stem from another, a drawing of the stem, and the flower from a third. The author was not drawing a plant. The author was drawing a formula. This would explain the bizarre flora. This is the book of an apothecary or an alchemist encoding the composition of their potions in a visual lexicon. But it is the section known as balneological that is the most strange, the most unsettling. 10 folios depicting hundreds of naked women. They float and wade in strange interconnected pools, a network of pipes, channels and cascades. The water is often colored a lurid green or blue. A language without a speaker. A pharmacy for impossible cures. A world that exists only within these pages. The manuscript does not give up its secrets. It only deepens the question of what we can truly know, and what will forever remain just beyond the grasp of reason. The figures are haunting. Their skin is pallid, their bellies rounded, their hips wide. Many appear to be with child. What is this place? Some forgotten medieval spa? The initial theory tied these diagrams to the medical understanding of the age. In the medieval world, the female body was a vessel governed by fluids, by humours. The womb, it was believed, was an organ that required constant moisture. This hypothesis casts the drawings as schematics of our internal landscape. The pools are organs, the pipes, the veins and arteries. The women themselves, allegories for the soul, or for the very biological processes of life. Birth, conception. Some researchers have even claimed to see microscopic structures, cells and tissues hidden within the pages. But the microscope would not be invented for another 200 years. If the author saw cells, they possessed an optic technology inconceivable for their time. But a more terrestrial and far more perilous explanation exists. That this is a book about women's health, obstetrics, gynecology, contraception, abortion. In the 15th century, these were forbidden subjects. The Church held dominion over medicine, and the secrets of women, the arts of midwifery, the knowledge of herbs that could end a pregnancy or begin one, all of it bordered on witchcraft. Had an inquisitor discovered a book containing recipes for abortifacients, its author would have been burned. This mortal danger explains the necessity of an entirely new, impenetrable language. It was a language of survival, a cipher designed to protect life itself. Perhaps the work of a secret sect of midwives, a clandestine society of female healers. The astronomical section seems to offer more concrete clues. There are circular diagrams, signs of the zodiac, the sun, the moon. The signs are recognizable: Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Sagittarius. But here too there is a profound strangeness. At the center of the diagrams are the zodiac symbols, but surrounding them are hundreds of small, naked women, holding stars on strings or emerging from celestial barrels. Artificial intelligence has attempted to superimpose these star maps onto the real sky. It checked the heavens of the year 1400, of the year 1000, of antiquity. It accounted for the slow wobble of the Earth's axis, the precession of the equinoxes. There were no matches. The constellations drawn in the manuscript correspond to no known celestial view from Earth. They are either a complete fantasy or a view from another point in space. Yet one massive fold-out page, the Rosette's folio, offers a single tantalizing anchor to our world. 9 circles connected by bridges and walls, resembling a fortress map or a schematic of the cosmos. In one corner, a castle is drawn with swallowtail merlons on its walls. This is not a generic feature. It is a specific architectural signature of the Ghibellines in 15th century northern Italy. This one detail ties the manuscript to a specific place and time: Milan, Venice, or Verona. The very region that, in the 15th century, was a hotbed of secret societies, alchemy, and heresy. In 2018, specialists in artificial intelligence from the University of Alberta joined the quest. They employed an algorithm trained on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, translated into 380 different languages. When this vast linguistic mind was fed the Voynich Manuscript, it returned a result with 97% probability. The foundational language is Hebrew, but not pure Hebrew. It is encrypted. The code was more than a puzzle. It was a shield, a veil woven from necessity to protect knowledge deemed too dangerous to speak aloud. The secrets of the body, the cycles of life and death, passed down in whispers from one generation to the next. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not what the words say, but the sheer, unbreakable will of those who wrote them. a testament to the human need to record the truth, even when the truth itself carried a death sentence. An algorithm once offered a deceptively simple solution: anagrams. The letters within each word were merely scrambled. Discard the vowels, sort the remaining characters alphabetically, and a computer could unravel the code. The first sentence appeared. She gave recommendations to the priest, the man of the house, and to me and the people. Coherent? Perhaps. But it was a phantom meaning, hauntingly vague. The theory crumbled under scrutiny. Critics argued that with enough freedom to rearrange, any text can be forced to confess any meaning. The code remained unbroken. Then, in 2019, a new claim emerged, bolstered by the power of artificial intelligence. Gerard Cheshire of Bristol University declared the language was not a code, but a lost tongue, proto-Romance, a vernacular of the Mediterranean, spoken by the common people but never written, overshadowed by the official Latin of the Church and State. He offered translations of passages on bathing, rendered as hygienic instructions for a queen, Maria of Castile. Yet the scientific community met the revelation with profound skepticism. The translation felt too interpretive, too liberal, more art than science. But in 2024, a more advanced intelligence, a model working not with letters but with vast semantic fields, produced a radical hypothesis. The manuscript, it suggested, is a form of steganography, not a substitution cipher, but a natural spoken language recorded phonetically in a bespoke alphabet. And, most critically, it is abbreviated. It is shorthand. The feverish notes of a scholar capturing a stream of thought, a lecture, a vision, a dictation. A system of rapid writing where a single elegant mark might represent an entire word or a common suffix. This alone could explain the maddening repetitions, the rigid structure that had baffled linguists for a century. The machine pointed not to one language, but to a fusion, a creole, a blend of Latin, Old German, and Italian dialects, the kind of hybrid tongue that might arise in the great international melting pots of the age, a university, a monastery, a crossroads where minds from across the known world converged. Yet another theory, rooted not in language but in the earth, presents a paradox. Botanists Arthur Tucker and Rexford Talbot claimed to recognize plants within the manuscript's pages. This was not the flora of Europe. It was the flora of the New World, of Mexico, the agave, the prickly pear, the sunflower. Here, logic itself begins to fray. The manuscript's parchment is carbon dated to the early 1430s. Christopher Columbus would not sail for another 6 decades, in 1492. Had an unknown traveler reached the Americas before Columbus, returning with impossible knowledge? Or is the dating flawed, ancient parchment inscribed upon much later? Forensic analysis suggests otherwise. The ink and vellum are contemporaries. It is a temporal impossibility. Either the botanists are victims of wishful thinking, seeing patterns that are not there, or our fundamental history of discovery is wrong. There is, however, a third path, that the manuscript was indeed made in Europe, but its knowledge was not. A text containing wisdom received from whom? The seafaring Vikings? The secretive Templars? Or a civilization that has vanished from the pages of history entirely? An illustration hauntingly similar to an armadillo, a creature native only to the Americas, only deepens the enigma. Ultimately, the mystery returns to the human hand that created it. Graphologists and psychiatrists, poring over the script, converge on a single chilling profile. The author possessed a will of iron, and perhaps a mind touched by some profound deviation. To fill 240 pages with an invented script flawlessly, without error or hesitation, maintaining a steady, unwavering rhythm, is a feat that borders on the superhuman. It speaks of an obsession, of a mind operating on a plane we cannot comprehend. A mind that left behind a perfect, impenetrable lock, and a key that may never be found. It requires a manic focus, a state akin to hypergraphia, where the mind is seized by an overwhelming, irresistible compulsion to write. A condition sometimes linked to temporal lobe epilepsy or schizophrenia. Throughout history, mystics and prophets have filled volumes with automatic writing, channeling sacred texts in unknown languages, a phenomenon known as glossolalia. In the 12th century, the renowned abbess Hildegard of Bingen devised her own secret alphabet, the lingua ignota, to record the details of her celestial visions and herbal remedies. Could the author of the Voynich Manuscript be such a figure? An unrecognized visionary, transcribing revelations in a tongue bestowed by God or by angels, as the Elizabethan scholar John Dee once claimed? For its creator, every stroke may have held absolute crystalline meaning. For us, it is merely noise. We stand before a glass cube at Yale University. The book lies open to a page of its enigmatic green baths. We have aimed our most advanced artificial intelligence at its folios, but the machine mind has given us tools, not answers. It reveals a deep and complex structure, but a meaning that remains utterly silent. The Voynich Manuscript is the Everest of cryptography. It taunts us. It has the appearance of something that can and should be read. It beckons with the familiar shapes of letters and the recognizable forms of plants. But the moment we draw near, any hint of sense dissolves into dust. Perhaps the greatest secret of this book is not a recipe for immortality, nor a map of forgotten stars. Perhaps the secret is that there is no secret at all. What if this is the most masterful hoax in history, a perfect trap for the intellect? What if a brilliant 15th century author created not a book, but a mirror? A text in which every observer sees only what they wish to find. The alchemist perceives arcane formulas, the astronomer new constellations, the botanist undiscovered species, the linguist a lost grammar. We project our own disciplines, our own desperate hunger for knowledge, onto a canvas of exquisitely crafted static. If this is so, the author is the most profound provocateur of all time, compelling the greatest human minds and most powerful computers for 600 years to chase a ghost. And yet there is still hope. Our neural networks evolve. They are learning to collapse tomorrow. A new algorithm will finally turn the key. And then we will learn how to cure diseases with herbs that have never grown on Earth. We will know the location of stars that have never shone in our sky. And we will finally understand the purpose of the silent women, forever bathing in their pools of green. The story remains unfinished. Manuscript 408 awaits its reader. But whether it is an encyclopedia from a lost world, the fever dream of a madman, or a flawless joke played upon posterity, its ultimate truth may be that the contents are not the point. Its true value may lie not in the answers it withholds, but in the relentless, uniquely human quest for meaning it inspires.